Hello, all of you. I am Kanishk Shekar. I teach Indian Constitution and Polity to the civil services aspirants. I have been teaching for the past 7 years to the aspirants. Currently, I'm associated with some institutes in Delhi and Hyderabad. So, in this video, I'll be telling you how to prepare a very brief introduction regarding how to prepare for the Indian Constitution and Polity. When I say Indian Constitution and polity, polity is actually an extension of Constitution. What is Constitution? A very basic question if I ask you. One might say that it is the supreme law of the land, but that supreme law of the land has been confined into currently there are 470 articles. In order to implement these articles, something has to be done by the state, and that something is called polity. So Constitution has some provisions, but these provisions needs to be implemented. The theoretical aspect needs to have a practical point also. So that is what polity is. Very briefly and very succinctly, we can say it is a applied part of the Constitution. We can say an applied part of the Constitution. So here on your screen, you see the images, and this is, we all know, the Constituent Assembly was there. It was formed even before independence in 1946 itself, and finally the first meeting happened in 46. On 26th of January 1950, India became a republic because India got its constitution. So these are the various stalwarts. I hope you know these people very well, who are responsible for constitution in the current form as it is. Now, moving on from here, as I said, constitution and polity are two slightly different aspects that should not be treated as synonyms. Polity, the applied part of constitution. In order to implement the constitution, there has to be a polity at place. I'll give just one example, like Article 17(1)(7) of the Indian Constitution bars untouchability. It forbids untouchability. But the law was passed by the Indian Parliament in 1955. So in order to implement the provision of Constitution, that is Article 17, a law was passed in 1955, the Prevention of Atrocities Act. So here you see the polity coming into play. Now, these are the areas, the way UPSC asks question, not only on the constitutional provision, but also on the polity provision. And you see the various number of questions that have been asked in your exam right from the day your format changed. The current format of UPSC, where there are 4 GS papers, 1 optional, 1 essay, 2 qualifying papers of language. This form came in 2013. So ever since 2013 till the last main exam, that is 2020, these are the number of questions that have been asked in prelims in GS1 from polity. So you see the question range, the range is quite diverse. At times they have asked little more than 5 questions, maybe 7-8 questions, and at times they have asked 18 questions and 19 questions from polity. So we don't know how much questions when you are going to appear in the exam will be asked. That is why we need to prepare holistically. Now this was prelims. When I talk about paper 2 of GS, the main exam, 2/3 of the syllabus is polity. Polity, constitution, social justice. Social justice becomes governance, and social justice is an extension of polity itself. So paper 2, 2/3 paper is polity only. And of 250 marks, rest assured, there will be questions, minimum 175 questions from Indian Constitution, polity, governance, and social justice. And as I said, governance and social justice are only the extensions of polity. So how do we prepare these parts? We need to be aware about certain things. First thing, there are 2 aspects of the syllabus. There is static plus dynamic part. So the constitutional provisions are not going to change. There are 6 fundamental rights. They will remain the way they are, but their interpretations will change. So that becomes the dynamic part. The way Supreme Court or any other high court invokes fundamental rights or any other constitutional provision, that would be covered under the dynamic part. So governance part, anything regarding citizen charter, social audit, all these things are dynamic part. So apart from the constitutional provisions, which are more or less static in nature, whatever is happening around us becomes a dynamic part. Now, three areas. If we analyze the question, I'm doing this for the past 7, 8 years. And even before that, for the past 10, 15 years, if anyone objectively analyzes the mains question, or for that matter, prelims question, there are three primary areas where the commission is asking the question, framing the questions from. First is the laws passed by the parliament, the legislature, the supreme lawmaking body of India, the Indian parliament. Now, whatever laws they pass, like for example, the CAA, it created an uproar passed by the parliament, the farm laws passed by the Indian parliament. So many such laws are passed by the parliament. It is one of the jobs of the parliament to pass law, and constitution is also amended by the parliament. So the 102nd amendment, the 105th amendment, all these are the recent amendments that I'm talking about. Such amendments are focus area for the UPSC. Any constitutional amendment is a focused area. Just 105 amendments till date. So yes, in every year there is not more than one or two major amendments that remains in the focus area of UPSC. And any law which has social economic impact, like the farm law, the CAA law, Parliament passes many laws, but not all laws are important. The laws having socio-economic repercussions, the ones that I mentioned. So first area would be the things done by the Parliament, the laws passed, and the Constitution if it is amended. Second area of concern is the judicial decision. How Supreme Court interprets a particular law, or what is Supreme Court stand on an amendment done by the Parliament. So these judicial decisions, the judgments are very, very important for UPSC. I'll give you an example, the triple talaq. The triple talaq law was outlawed by the Supreme Court of India, and then the act was passed by the Parliament. So here you see a judicial decision coming and a parliamentary act following it. All these things at times act in tandem. So judicial decisions, the important one, again, having socio-economic repercussions. Or if judiciary is trying to kind of evaluate a parliamentary law. So these things, first was the parliamentary law, the second one was how judiciary interprets a law, maybe an old law or an existing law or a brand new law which was passed just 2 days back, or an amendment. So judiciary, under Article 13 has a capacity to review the decisions of parliament. Any law it can review. So first was the laws, the second was how judiciary interprets those laws. The third thing is the constitutional bodies. Now, currently there are, with NCBC, the National Commission for Backward Class, getting constitutional status. The number of constitutional bodies now are 11 in numbers. So all these constitutional bodies, except now when I say constitutional bodies, the Advocate General and Attorney General also become a part of it, but they serve the government. All other constitutional body, for them, we cannot say that they serve the government. They more or less act as a check on the government. For that, for example, UPSC, CAG, EC, NCBC, NCST, Special Officer for Linguistic Minorities. All these are constitutional offices. What they do, they submit a report to the President of India annually. They may do it more than once in a year. The President places these reports in the Parliament and Parliament discusses on it. The government needs to implement the recommendations of these constitutional bodies. And if for any reason government is unable to implement the recommendation, then they have to explain the reason in the Parliament. So that is why these constitutional bodies are very important. Suppose, for example, UPSC is a constitutional body. It gives any recommendation regarding the change of pattern of your exam, and government is unwilling to implement it. Okay, so government owes an explanation in the Parliament. So all these constitutional bodies, like the Election Commission, currently it said that if a candidate fights from 2 seats, like Modi ji fought from 2 seats, Banaras and one in Gujarat, his home turf in 2014. Rahul Gandhi fought from 2 seats in UP and Wayanad in Kerala. So what if a person wins from 2 seats, like Modi won from both seats? He gave up his Gujarat seat, he retained the Banaras seat. So EC said that if a person fights from two seats and resigns from one seat, then a by-election will happen at that seat from where the candidate has resigned. The expenditure for that election must be taken from the party whose candidate has resigned from that seat. So again, a very important recommendation this was given by a constitutional body. So all these reports and recommendations become very handful. What Election Commission says regarding electoral reform, one example I just quoted, what UPSC says about the selection process, like any format, anything that is to be changed in the exams that the UPSC conducts, anything that CAG says regarding the audit of accounts of center and the states. So all of them are important. These are the three primary areas from where questions have regularly been framed. Now, what are the sources? Where do you read these things from? Where do you study these things from? One prerequisite is class 11th NCERT. There are two books, Indian Constitution and at Work and Political Theory. Please read these two books repeatedly. It's not like you will read them once and you will understand them. You need, if you are not a humanities student, you need to repeatedly 2 or 3 times read these books. After that, you progress to Lakshmikant, the most revered book for all civil services aspirants. But let me warn you that Lakshmikant may help you in prelims. It will not help you in mains. Hardly one question or two questions is from Lakshmikant. Most of the mains question are applied polity question. They ask you on what is happening around you. In order to understand and answer these current questions, you need to understand polity. For that, for understanding polity, NCERT and Lakshmikant are very, very useful. So then you start reading the newspapers, mostly Indian Express and the Hindu, visit the PRS site, visit the PIB site, watch good debates on Sansad TV, on Doordarshan, avoid private channels. They generate more heat than light. So stick to these things, and this is how you have to prepare for your exam. Remember, it is not a spontaneous conversion process. It happens gradually and in a slow simmering way. Our role is to make these sources available to you in a coherent way so that you don't have to take the pain of fishing which notes to read, which article to read. If you do not understand anything, you don't have to Google it, come to us. We'll take care of these things in the classroom. And of course, answer writing and test has to be very regular. These are the things that you have to implement if you want to be a serious civil services aspirant and get selected in the revered civil services. All the best to you all. We'll keep meeting each other. Thank you.